All information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not consider your individual circumstances. You should consider the appropriateness of this information with regards to your individual objectives, financial situation, and needs. Welcome to Sharing More Than the Sheets, a podcast to help you and your partner make better financial and lifestyle decisions so that you can both focus on the things that you love. I'm your host, Michael Khouri, financial planner, green thumb, husband, and just dad. When it comes to money and investing money, there are so many different types of risks which many of us are aware of. There's business risk, market risk, foreign exchange risk, interest rate risk, inflation risk, liquidity risk, political risk. But there's one that many people don't always think about, and it's the risk of doing nothing. As an advisor, I talk to people that have never invested in their lives, or maybe have invested but not that much. And one of the first things I hear all the time is, I've always wanted to do this, but I didn't really know where to start, or I was scared of making the wrong decision. And what you find there is a situation where somebody wants to invest money, they want to do something with their money, but they're just too scared, or they don't know where to begin, or they don't have the confidence to make that decision. And this is where having an advisor comes in. As a financial advisor, when we give advice on these things, it's our job to look at someone's circumstance, look at their goals, come up with a solution to help them achieve their goals, but also educate them on the risks of doing something. And of course, the advantages of doing it as well. And there's a couple of aspects there. There are a couple of things there that you won't really get if you talk to a friend at a barbecue, or if you just decide to Google something. Because if you talk to a friend on the weekend about what they've invested their money in, they're not going to ask you what your goals are. They're not going to educate you on the risks. I mean, they might, but probably not properly, or it's going to be biased. They're not going to look at your other situation, look at what else you're doing with your money. How is your super invested? How is what are your expenses? What's your income? What are your other goals? What do you need money for? What would you like to save towards? What school do you want your kids to go to? All these types of things, which we obviously do as advisors. And I can't stress the benefit of having an advisor enough when it comes to action, when it comes to actually doing something. Because there's opportunity cost. Now, I've talked about this before, but opportunity cost, like essentially, I've met people that have had their money, tens, if not sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally just sitting in an account for a really long time, doing nothing, where that money, even if it was in something simple like a term deposit, they probably would have made more. And that person probably wanted to invest a long time ago, but just didn't know where to start. And I regularly talk to clients where they want to buy something, but they never thought they could as well. So whether it's an investment property or whether it's setting up like a share portfolio, there are so many misconceptions as well when it comes to certain things like, oh, can't afford it. Oh, it's too risky. Oh, it's too hard to do. Oh, I need too much money to do that. I don't have enough. Oh, I should be earning more money. Oh, that's just really for rich people. It's not for me. So when we talk about these things and when we educate you on them as an advisor, we're able to help you understand what you can and can't do. So it's really important to understand that without risk, there's no reward. That we talk about this all the time, that the higher the risk, the higher the reward. So it is important to take risk. And that's where action comes in. The second part about it as well is whether you like it or not, you can't really avoid risk. So some people sometimes get really scared to invest money and they just do nothing because they're too scared to lose money. And there's always a chance of loss, of course, no matter what you do. But there's ways of managing that risk through discussions, through the way you invest, through the type of people that you talk to, through the education that you have, and also even through the timing and the way that you invest your money. Because what you'll actually find is when you start investing or when you start doing something with your money, it just creates this excitement, this multiple effect. Because, if you purchase a property, you might suddenly want to purchase a second property, or the second you set up a share portfolio, and you see it performing, or you see what it's doing, or you suddenly start understanding it even more, you think, wow, okay, I want to set up another share portfolio, or now I want to diversify my investments. I want to have a different type of investment. So this risk, taking on risk, and this action leads to education. And this education normally leads to doing things that you probably would not have normally done. Because another thing that I always harp on about when I talk to anyone about money is minimizing the regrets that you'll have in life. You know, if you talk to someone that doesn't have many years to live, I can tell you right now, they're not going to regret the mistakes they made. They're probably going to regret the things that they didn't really try. You know, they're not going to regret that time. Oh yeah, you know, looking back now, really wish I didn't do that one particular thing. They're going to look at the risks they took, which created reward. Those that, you know, created some sort of experience, or in this case, you know, if we're talking money, invested money, you know, and this goes back to the higher the risk, the higher the return. So not just money, but life in general. But going back to regrets, the idea is to look back and not have any regrets. To look back 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later, and not regret doing nothing, not regret just sitting there. There's, you know, if you talk to anyone that talks about any type of investment, whether it's shares, crypto, property, you know, most people will say, I wish I got into it 20 years ago. So it's again, like, is this 20 years ago now? If we're looking forward 20 years, are we getting 20 years? Are we going to look back to this day and think, I wish I did this, this, and this? Research has also shown that risk takers may actually be happier. So there was a study in Germany where they looked at people's lives, then looked at those that take on risks and those that don't really take on risk. And they actually found that those that take risk are actually normally happier. And now, I'm not saying go risk all your money and you're going to be happy. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is you'll find as well that those that take risk, or those that actually do something compared to those that don't, are more likely to have positive outcomes, or outcomes that aren't normal, compared to someone that just lives a very standard life that does exactly the same thing. Now, I'm not a psychologist. I'm sure there's 100 other factors that need to be taken into account. But my point is that research shows that those that take risk are more likely to have a reward compared to those that don't. And that leads to so many other things. So we're not just talking about money. We're talking about life in general. And going back to what I said, the risk of doing nothing is sometimes a lot bigger than the risk of doing nothing at all. I'm going to go back and stress the fact that getting financial advice is important, that talking to an advisor, understanding the pros and cons of making decisions is very important, because you don't want to risk your money. You don't want to risk your family's money, or your financial future, or your family's financial future. But on time and time again, as I said, I'll talk to someone, whether it's maybe a client that I gave financial advice to a few years ago, and they would just say something like, you know, if I never got advice, I never would have done any of this, you know, and you never know where things will take you. You know, yes, you might lose money if you invest. Yes, you might make money if you invest. But either way, that journey will lead you towards other decisions financially and even personally. And if you talk to many people that are successful these days, that have made great decisions and have built wealth, you'll normally find that they started off by taking on some risk. And that risk led to a reward, and that reward was able to be utilized to build something for their future so that they can do better, be better, and feel better. Thanks for joining us on Sharing More Than the Sheets. Please make sure you subscribe to be updated with future episode releases, and feel free to share this episode with any friends or family that you think it might benefit. Please visit us at sharingmorethanthesheets.com.au to submit questions or requests for future podcast topics. These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au.